back, everybody. So today we're going to have a side-by-side of my El Dorado beers. Number one, if you did not see the standalone review, is El Dorado in 2-row using US-05 yeast. Beer number two is El Dorado in 2-row using S04 yeast. Beer number three is El Dorado and Maris Otter using US-05. And the fourth beer is El Dorado and 2-row and Maris Otter. 1 pound 8 ounces of 2-row, 1 pound of Maris Otter. This one also has half an ounce of Whirlpool at 170 degrees for 15 minutes. I'm gonna move these bottles out again like I normally do, so we can actually see the beers. There actually is one missing. I did a version of El Dorado in 2-row, just like these two, using Bell's house yeast. And for whatever reason, and I don't know why, I had the gas up a little too high, and I got 2 full 22-ounce bottles of it, and then the next one came up to like here. And usually that's not good for the beer. It didn't smell right. It didn't taste right. It wasn't as bad as the other one I posted. But it's using the same carb or caps. It did have a hiss though. So we'll have to see next month what that brings. But so we've got the 4 here. Now in color-wise, you can definitely tell these have Maris Otter or they're using a darker grain. Between the first two, obviously the only thing that's different is the yeast. The US-05 is giving us a little darker color, where the S04 is kind of lightening up a little bit. It could be the haziness in it, but one thing I believe I said, and I just want to make sure I remember, if we look at these, oh, sorry about all my notes. Where is it at? There it is. Okay, so beer number one using the US-05 came out to be 5.75 ABV. Beersmith wanted 5.7. Beer number two came out to be 6.16, which is actually weird for me because S04 should be a not as high of an attenuation rate. It should fall out a little quicker. And the Beersmith numbers, it wanted 5.4%, not 6.12%. So mine did attenuate a little bit more. Maybe when it's a little colder, it does attenuate a little bit more, as where if it's in its warm area more than not, it might say I'm going to sleep faster. Saying that maybe when it's a little colder, it tries to eat more just to warm up. I don't know, but it should actually be the opposite. The US-05 should be the higher ABV, but in this case, it's not. And you can see from the color that beer number two is a lighter color. I would say for the haziness level, for how hazy it is, they're both the same. Where sometimes S04 can be used in a New England IPA. I've used it before. Not saying it's the best, but it should leave the beer a little hazier. But at least in this case, it's not. It did give us a better head. This first one is also sorry, I'm all over the place. This first one is also using 6 carbonation tablets. The rest are using 4. But once we start moving over to the Maris Otter side, we can see the color difference. Obviously, these are 12-ounce bottles. These are 22. That's why these aren't full. Beer number 3 really struggled with a head, where the other ones are good. So I don't know if it has something to do with the malt or what's going on there, as obviously our 2-row has head on both of them, and then the mixed one also has a head. So I'm not sure, but it is what it is. Color on these two. Yeah, color on these two. This is a burnt orange. They're both a burnt orange color. The pure Maris Otter one is a little clearer. There's a lot more haziness in the mixed version than any. The color for the winner, if you haven't followed me, usually I like to pick winners for head and color. At least for color, I would have to go with beer number 2. I like that color a little bit more than I would have to go with beer number 4 for the runner-up. As far as head, I think the head on beer 4 is the best. I would rather have that head than any of the other ones, followed by number 2. Let's smell them. See what differences we get with the malts and the yeasts. Very light touch of fruit citrus. This one definitely has more lemon citrus coming out of it than this. For the smell, I would definitely have to go with beer number 2, at least in those two. Definitely more of a toasted bread, like a crust of the bread. That one really brings. Still, again, between these two, I would have to go with the smell of number 2. This one does have that toasted bread, not as much. A little bit more of a fruity citrus smell with that crusted bread, which you should probably get. Verse number 2. Number 2, when I smell it next to number 4, almost has like a tart lemon citrus in it. So I would go with beer number 4 overall for the smell of these. Between beer number 3 and beer number 4, I think beer number 4 has better of a balanced smell. It's got that toasted bread, but it's got a little bit of cracker in there too, where beer number 3 is pretty much all toasted bread. Let's go ahead and taste. As this one's warming up, it almost seems like the flavors are fading. A little bit more maltiness in there, a touch of fruit, a touch of citrus, but that maltiness is really kicked in, and it really covers up most of the tastes. Let's go ahead and taste 2. Number 2 still has that lemon quality in there. You're not getting that toasted bread. It is a little grainier, if anything, but that lemon citrus is definitely up. Maybe like a sweet lemon citrus is upped in that one. I really wouldn't, at least between beer number 1 and beer number 2, I wouldn't pick any of them. But let's keep going. Yeah, big time toasted bread, a little fruit in there, generic fruit. I'm still getting that lemon. I'm almost wondering, like I said in some of the single reviews, if it's a bad idea to use El Dorado at 30 minutes in the boil. Like, it needs to be at like 5 or less Whirlpool, because that lemon is in there, and at least from where I took it, I didn't get it. It doesn't say anything about lemon. Okay, that's all I needed. Beer number four tastes the best out of all these. I believe it's from that balance of that bread crust, that cracker. You're getting a little bit of fruitiness in there, a touch of citrus still. That fruitiness is coming through a little bit more, but that malt from the two malts is really taken over. I think it's a little young. I think that malt level will drop over the next 2 weeks because these have only been bottled 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks. So I don't think they've had time to gel a little bit where these are a month old. But yeah, out of these, definitely beer number four is the better beer. Now, does that mean I would brew a 5 gallon batch? No. It still needs more hops. It needs more bitterness. In all these, you're really not getting any bitterness. I think they need some Warrior or something up front to really balance that out. But yeah, at least for these right now, I would have to go with the two-row Maris Otter version, and it could be because it has more hops in it. But we will continue to make these. And like I said, that Bell's one, hopefully that comes back around next month. And if it doesn't, I will probably do something with that two-row Maris Otter and do some different yeasts in those and see what they come up to be. So yeah, if you enjoy videos like this, check some more out over here. And until next time, happy brewing.